people have in chat asked if I could just kind of do a overview of the most important changes for the Gold Road chapter for the Elder Scrolls Online. Before we do that, though, quick shout out to the teams that got an insanely fast trifecta today. World's first Lucent Citadel trifecta, no death hard mode speedrun, for the title of Unstoppable. Goes to Genesis on PC North America. They were rating really early, like 8. This was posted at 8:47 a.m. US Eastern on launch day. That's pretty insane. This might be the fastest post-chapter or post-trial launch trifectas I've ever seen. And of course, world's second and also EU's first goes to Unlucky, the team Unlucky. And shortly right after that, Wipe on Reset also got the trifecta. So this is a very interesting, I think, thing to observe. I think it's even faster than Sanity's Edge was, for sure. So yeah, shout out to them. Really well done, guys. Also, we are going to be looking at the patch notes. So I'm just going to go over the combat stuff or item sets, because a few things might have changed between week 5 PTS to live. There were definitely some things that I did keep up to date on in the YouTube videos that you have or maybe have not watched. So just to kind of condense it all together, Scribing is now here, or spellcrafting, if you can call it that. It is going to be, if you haven't caught the podcast with me and Nice Gaming and Olibo, we talked about this. Scribing will offer a good amount of power, especially in PvP and certain areas of PvE or certain rules for PvE. So if you are looking to play around with Scribing for a power gain, yeah, it's the new system. This is the main draw here. And also just PSA, right? If you are a console player, because it's a bit late for the PC players, or maybe it's not, you should wait until after you get the Sigil of the Luminary Netch, which allows you to get affix scripts for Scribing from daily World Event rewards, coffers, daily Imperial City rewards, and daily Undaunted Quest rewards to open your coffers up. But yeah, I don't want to go over the entire thing for Scribing. We kind of did go over that in the PTS, how it works, what it looks like. So I kind of want to just go ahead and look at the item sets here. So, Symmetry of the Wield, lots of weapons and spell damage, 200% stats fix a chance addition while your health is above 50%, adds 10% healing done while your health is 50% or less. There's going to be a common theme here with the Overland and craftable sets in the Gold Road chapter launch, because compared to previous patches, even more so than the 2021 chapter Blackwood, the crafted and overland sets in this patch are quite actually really good. So I would definitely check these out. Macabre Vintage also has a lot of weapon and spell damage. And when you kill monster, they burst with blood magic, dealing half of their max health to enemies within 6 meters as bleed damage. Of course, I kind of look at this as both a PvE thing and also a PvX or Ice Imperial City specifically thing that you could potentially try out here, maybe. But of course, I think it's based on the kill, like last hit. So that's something to do with that, right? Alien Refuge Heavy Armor Set. It's going to be max stam, max health. Blocking attack reduces your damage taken by 11% for 3 seconds. Not a bad set, honestly, especially for an overland set for tanking. It's certainly going to make some things a little bit more easier to handle as a tank, because also just a very important heads up about the combat changes that was done in week 5. Due to how mitigation was working or able to be taken advantage of unintentionally, they did essentially kind of nerf us. Not nerf us intentionally, but also just kind of had to fix the values. So we're going to take a bit more damage due to the armor passes being changed. So maybe this will help some players, but just do expect to take a bit more damage this patch, more than you saw last patch, right? Okay, and thanks for the follows, by the way, Alyssa and Pyro Gamer. Welcome in. So crafted sets, Highland Sentinel, lots of critical chance. While in combat, each second you stand still grants you a stack of Sentinel's Eye every 1 second. Up to 10 stacks. Each stack increases your critical chance by 357. Each second you move removes half of your stacks of Sentinel's Eye. Round it up. Exiting combat removes all stacks of Sentinel's Eye. I really like the first iteration of this, but I think the first iteration was a bit too much with the critical chance. So yeah, this can also be a solid set, especially for the more static fights. Terraker Strike, lots of weapon spell damage, pretty good stats again. Dealing damage with a fully charged heavy attack grants you Major Berserk for 4 seconds, increasing your damage done by 10%. Not as good, I think, as the other ones, but still, I think it can be doable. Threads of War, offensive penetration, weapon spell damage, critical chance. You light and fully charged heavy attacks gain 100% status effect chance. The status effect is based on the damage types of your weapon. More Scribe's Thesis. These are the trial sets, and this was basically increasing your critical chance by 128 for every major buff active upon you, up to 1536 critical chance, which is nothing to laugh at. Also increases your critical damage done by 1% for every minor buff active on you, up to 12%, which is okay, but I think this helps groups with less optimized uptimes for sure, if they want to go with this kind of itemization comp. Silvers of the Null Arca. Critical chance, minor slayer, critical chance, weapon spell damage. Someone in chat mentioned this earlier. They did have to buff this. I couldn't test this. I couldn't test a lot actually, because of time constraints. But Silvers of No Arca might be a bit more decent now because it was a little underwhelming on the PTS, so they buffed it. Zoran's Masterpiece, Light Armor Set, Max Mag, Minor Aegis, Magic Recovery, Max Mag. Pretty meh, but I think this is going to be a support healing set. Increases your max mag and stamina by 1667 for you and up to 1100 group members within 28 meters of you. This bonus persists through up. I find this set pretty underwhelming compared to what healers or support roles can run, so I don't think this is the greatest set ever. Lucent Echoes, Heavy Armor Set, 4% healing taken, Minor Aegis, max health. While you have more than 50% health, increase the crit damage and healing of your group members by 11%. Also pretty good, actually. This will actually help with maybe considering if you need to run, Elemental Catalyst on your support necro or support DPS necro. It might help a lot with most groups in terms of their uptime for critical damage. So yeah, I mean, it's not a bad set, but it is a bad set in comparison to like the first iteration, which was like, oh, it gives critical rating if your tank is above 50% health to everybody. But I think that was a bit overpowered, so that's what they did. While you have 50% less health, reduce your damage taken from monsters by 20%. It's actually pretty good. New mythic items, Rorkin Steam Guards. So there's 2 mythics, because the third mythic, the Shadow Queen's Cow, is more of a justice system or thief kind of roleplay thing going on here, in terms of just kind of purely focused not on combat but on pickpocketing and the justice system. So if you want to distract guards or when you're pickpocketing NPCs and get away with no bounty, or even decrease your detection radius and stealth when you're crouched or going invisible, this is a mythic for you. But for combat, it's useless because it's not for combat, and that's fine. And I would love to see more of these, especially for crafting or harvesting or more non-combat related areas. I think people love the idea of like maybe a mythic that helps you pick up things even faster, or get more things out of picking up a material. So things like that I would love to see. See. 안녕하세요. Okay, so working Steam Guards, heavy hands, heavy gauntlets. Activating block while in combat grants you Steam Guarding for half a second, reducing your damage taken by almost 99%, 100%, basically. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. Blocking attack while Steam Guard is active reduces its cooldown by 5 seconds. So, this is actually, at first glance, it's like, whatever. It's just half a second of mitigation. But the fact that you could, in theory, get hit twice by 2 different players in the span of that half a second while blocking means you could essentially have a perma-block build here. Blocking attack while Steam Guardian is active reduces its cooldown by 5 seconds. So if 2 people hit you, that cooldown of 10 seconds is gone, and the Steam Guardian just refreshes. I think this is a very, 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 very powerful mythic, especially for PvP. I don't know about PvE. I think there's very few instances in PvE as a tank where you are constantly getting hit, but also constantly getting hit to the point where you need that mitigation. So I think this is a very pure PvP mythic. And I'm kind of curious how it's going to work out. So the Saint and Seducer necklace. While in combat, you gain 1 to 5 random major buffs, which changes every 10 seconds. Enemies within 12 meters of you gain 1 to 5 random minor debuffs, depending on which buff you have. The available buffs and debuffs include Major Berserk, Major Resolve, Major Force, Major Evasion, Major Courage, and respectively, Minor Maim, Minor Breach, Minor Brittle, Minor Vulnerability, Minor Cowardice accompany each of one of those. So this is a casino build, and I'm actually gonna try to get this mythic myself for PvP. I think it looks fun. So I'm not gonna go over the cosmetics and rewards. We have an entire video dedicated to that on the YouTube channel. We toured the houses. We're gonna just skip ahead to the combat. And for those of you who are curious about the changes to the mailing system, I would definitely watch a video on that for my channel, because it does go over the 14-day limit and 7-day limit. They're basically freeing up data space for the mail system so they can have some space elsewhere. But it will also affect the trader listings, which will now be, I believe, was it 14 days now? So yeah, basically, it's going to be a bit more fast-paced. All right, so combat and gameplay. Let's see. I'm just kind of skimming this to see if there's like anything new that they added. I know they added this. Where's the CP? The champion points. Right. This is what I was talking about earlier. Fixed an issue where some effects were reducing damage taken in an additive manner rather than a multiplicative manner, resulting in more mitigation than intended, and creating some situations where 100% damage mitigation was achievable. This affects the following: Hardy, champion passive, Elemental Aegis champion passive, Preparation champion passive, Heavy Armor's martial damage taken reduction, Heavy Armor's damage taken reduction while CC immune, Light Armor's magical damage taken reduction. So yes, as you can see, passives from the CP trees and also the armor passives are going to result in situations where you might notice a bit more damage this patch compared to last patch. So don't be too surprised if you're like, whoa, I'm taking more damage than I took last patch, potentially. And hello, Anna. And thanks for the follows, by the way. Gordry, Karu, Rizir, and Eritus. Sorry if I'm like not saying your names properly. And Frozen Stepper, welcome in. All right, so that's, again, the armory system can no longer be used to apply multiple Munda stones with the use of the Twice Point Star set. This set, man. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for the follows as well, Lars, Almalo, the Lord Retrospect. All right, so now class changes. Arcanist Domain fixed an issue where this ability and morphs could not be dispelled. Okay. Cephalyric's Flail. This morph now ranks up in 1.1% healing per rank, resulting in 3.3% additional healing at rank 4, rather than reducing its cost per rank. Okay. Fixed an issue. Dragon Knight, didn't really get any changes. Necromancer did. They did increase the damage per tick of Shocking Siphon and its morphs by about 33%, which is nice. I think, though, there's more work needed to be done on the Necromancer, where it was kind of brought down a bit in standing, at least in my perspective. I think a lot of people, I think someone even on the Ask Us Anything thread on the Reddit, on the subreddit for ESO, when the developers are taking questions, actually talked about Necromancer being not that great anymore. So I think it needs a bit more work. Restoring Tether also got a slight buff by about 14% more healing ticks. And Nightblade, well, they got to change to the Dark Shade, where the Morph Shade now only uses its AoE attack, rather than using it once every 5 seconds and then swapping to single attack. Sorcerer, Blood Magic, the passive now activates when you cast Dark Magic ability with a cost, rather than when you hit an enemy with a directly applied Dark Magic ability. It's actually pretty solid. Fixed an issue. Templar. Blazing Spears now causes the initial hit to immobilize enemies for 4 seconds. So that might be nice for Templar tanking. That might be nice for PvE, some instances of PvE. It might be nice also for PvP, depending on the situation. Sun Shield. Fixed an issue where this ability and more visuals could fail to appear. And then Warden, someone asked about Wardens earlier. Let me tell you what changed with Warden. And again, another class like Necromancer that does need a bit more love. But they did give Betting Edge something. Increase your damage done by 5% for 5 seconds if no negative effects was removed from that ability. And Developer Comment explains this. In order to help the Warden's damage production while rocking the boat too much in PvP, where they already are plenty strong, and this is kind of the same case for Nightblade. A lot of people are kind of miffed about Nightblade in PvE being really underwhelming as a damage role, but in PvP they're insanely strong and have a lot of healing and mitigation. So this is kind of reverse case for Warden, where in PvE as well, it's like, okay, it's not terrific, but in PvP they're also pretty solid. So that's what they're saying here. We're adding a condition of bonus that will mainly activate in PvE. We are also trying to add more sources of damage to their damage-focused skill line, Animal Companions, so we can slowly look at shifting passive damage, such as the Piercing Cold and Density of Glacial Presence, out of their tanking-focused skill line. To clear up some of the confusion concern we saw during PTS testing, we are not looking to remove Morph Diversity that helps Frost Mage DPS shine, like Arctic Blast or Winter's Revenge. Our main concerns are on how much passive damage Frost Wardens rely on to do reliable damage, and how it is allowing tankier Wardens to often out-damage others in PvP with little to no drawbacks. I feel like this is kind of a statement for everybody. You know, like there's builds that I've seen recently where it's like you can build up to like a good amount of health, but still burst people down. I think this is a general combat balancing issue too, and especially with item sets that are mainly proc-based. It's gonna be hard to fix, but I get where they're going with this, but at the same time, it's also a general problem. But yeah, thank you for the follows, by the way, as well. Altair, Eldre, Idre, and Athena. Welcome in, and Gabriel. So, that's the class changes, and if you are disappointed by the class changes, I wouldn't be too disappointed because, you know, amount-wise, yeah, sure, it's not a lot, but Scribing, because of how much it's going to rock the boat, in my opinion, I will shortly see that soon, I think, after this week, because it's going to take a while for people to grind the Scribing and understand the various combinations. I think it's okay that they didn't touch the classes, because it would have maybe gone too chaotic from their perspective. Weapon, bow, rapid fire, fixed issues, toxic barrage got a buff, increase the damage over time effect to match new damage per shot by 11%. Cool. Equilibrium, they did adjust the duration of the major resolve from Equilibrium, and it's, I think, morphs. Okay, and they also did adjust how long Mage's Guild abilities last, like Meteor or whatever, by instead of 20% of its duration previously. Now it's just going to be two more seconds, and yeah, that's really it. And I think they didn't like how strong some of the abilities were with Scouting or Meteor. Although I would argue that for what it is, at least with Scouting, with its arming time, I think it was fine, if that's what they're referring to. But whatever. Soul Magic fixed an issue.
Nephis is a liar.
Meters are higher. Okay. Fixed an issue where potions made with gradual ravage health. Okay, so yeah. Could trigger many other events such as item sets. Yeah, this is a well-known thing. Crafted sets, and that's really it. I think really for combat balancing. There's a few other things I'm not going to go over here, but that's really it. Let me know what you think.